Hello, ow. I knew I would forget that. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Blanche Fitness. It's Saturday, and you know what that means? It's time for the weekend kickoff, our awesome strength and stamina focused bodyweight class. It is the end of week 3 of April Powers, and it is the day after I got my second dose of COVID vaccine, which is why I am dressed, partially in exercise clothes, but partially in regular clothes, so I can remind myself not to work out today, because, I could definitely see myself trying to overexert today, and I don't want to do that, okay? We're modeling good behaviors here. Also, I just, I've been very fortunate this morning. The only, really active symptom that I'm having is the arm soreness, but I also feel a little bit of floatiness just muscularly, and I've had that feeling before, and that's always a sign to just take it easy and not overexert myself. So that's what I'm focusing on. But hi, I am here, and I'm really pleased because I honestly wasn't sure whether that was going to make sense or not. And I'm really glad to be here. And the sojourn down to Pueblo yesterday was actually remarkably uneventful. And I ended up getting my shot a full hour early, which was wild. And it was the same site that I had gone to for my first shot, but between that shot and this one, the FEMA had taken over the site and the administration process, and so it was all National Guard folks guiding the car through, and everything was very efficient in a way that I appreciated. Honestly, it was really nice to be able to just sort of drive in and drive out, and they had a check-in place along the street for pedestrian walk-ups because they had basically opened the site to everybody without an appointment being necessary, and so they had a spot for people to just walk up off the street and get vaccinated, which I thought was really cool. Because not everybody has a car. So that was really fun. That was really nice. And then, to avoid Denver afternoon traffic, a little bit of a sojourn at an outlet mall, which I don't do mall shopping that often. I have it in me for I don't know, maybe a couple of times a year, maybe. It is a weirdly overwhelming process, but I did find some things that was fun, and avoiding traffic and getting to stretch my legs is fun, because the last time I was just in the car for 7 hours. I didn't get up and walk around, and then got home and was like, oh, I can barely move my legs. So, everything went smoothly, which was really nice. Shot went smoothly, which is really nice. I have so far not spiked a fever or anything. But definitely I can tell that my body's working. My body is working to build those antibodies. I can tell. And so I am going to do my best to just be very careful and calm today and let everything do its thing. Oh my God, that fucking hummingbird. There is a hummingbird in this neighborhood who just, I guess, not a hummingbird, sorry, I keep saying that, a woodpecker. There is a woodpecker in this neighborhood who I guess just really missed its calling as a drummer. And so, more often than not, in the morning, at some point, we'll just show up and start banging on the metal caps of people's chimneys. And it's just like you're going about your day and suddenly you hear, and you're like, what the hell? And it's this freaking woodpecker like wakes up in the morning and is like, it's time for my bitchin' drum solo. I'm like, please, woodpecker, this is not wood. It's metal, very obviously. It hasn't changed from the last time you were here. Like, please go find something else. So yeah, that's you know, I like it though. It gives character to the neighborhood, and thankfully I wake up early enough in the morning that I have never been woken up by this fucker. Which would be a different story. I don't think that I would be quite as jocular about this tale if this buddy was waking me up in the mornings. But yes, so if you hear random sounds at any point, don't worry, that's just the neighborhood woodpecker practicing his drums. Like you do. Oh my goodness. My friends, it's the end of week 3. So this is our day to ramp up a little bit more intensely, depending on your capacity today. You know, weeks 1 and 2 were really about getting to know the programs and you know, internalizing the exercises so that you won't today have to spend as much extra brain power on remembering the exercises and remembering the order of everything, and you can really focus in on, okay, how do I want to intensify this workout, you know? So that's why we do these programs this way. You know, we do the same programming each week for a month, and it's because it allows us to get a lot of conscious processing back. Because when I'm changing the program each week, and there's a lot of value to that as well, variation is very valuable and helps to, you know, keep our interest engaged. But it also means that we have to use a lot more of our conscious processing to remember, okay, what is the timer structure here? Am I doing perpetual motion? Am I doing tabata? What are the exercises? Okay, I just finished this one. Wait, what was the next one I'm supposed to go to? You know, and it just, it takes more of that processing power. And so by having the exact same structure and exercises for essentially 5 weeks in a row, it just really gives us the opportunity to dig in and say, okay, I don't have to spend that processing power on what am I doing. Now I can spend it on how do I want to intensify. And that just provides us a really nice way to ramp up and challenge ourselves. You'll notice me, I'm still moving my arms a lot. As long as I keep my upper arm down, as long as I am not actively using this muscle to move the arm, it's when I do anything, yep, there we go. That's when I feel it. So I'm still going to be waving my arms around like this, but don't worry, I'm not, you know, in pain over here. It's only when I start to actually try to lift the elbow that the arm goes, hey, I'm sore. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. But yeah, so we're in week 3, and so we're gonna ramp up the intensity again on my end, and then obviously there are choices that you get to make in terms of how you want to ramp up. And I'm really excited because we've been crushing the ramp ups on these pyramids in a way that I wasn't even sure that we would be able to do. So yeah, we're gonna get the amount of time that we need for the pyramids down pretty substantially by the end of this, which is really exciting. But yeah, so my friends, let's do class. I'm sorry that I can't actively do stuff. I will primarily just be calling out what we're doing, because obviously I can't do a lot of demonstration. I'll demonstrate when I can. But again, the beauty of us being in week 3 is that I'll say an exercise and you'll go, oh yeah, that's the one. And you don't actually need me to be demonstrating quite as frequently or as intensely. But let's do our pre-class checklist. You got your water. Particularly important if you got a COVID vaccine yesterday. Also, if you got a COVID vaccine yesterday, you probably shouldn't be doing class today. Which is why I was like, I need to wear my hoodie to remind myself not to go gung-ho and be like, oh yeah, I could totally do this because I'm not feeling, overwhelmingly like, yeah. So if you got a COVID vaccine yesterday, please just, hang out and chat and watch class. But if you didn't, we've got our water. And either way, we should be hydrating ourselves. You've got your comfy clothes, whatever that means to you. Today I'm half workout and half rest. You've got your mat or mat-sized space on the floor, and if you use a fitness wearable, you can turn it on now to a high-intensity interval training setting. If you don't use a fitness wearable, please don't worry about it. It's a tool, and it's a tool that's useful for some people, and it's a tool that is not useful for other people, and either way is fine. All right, so let's get our timer going. I will at least sit on the mat to remind us all. It always feels weird to me when I'm teaching class without really doing class, but it's gonna be okay. We're all gonna make it through. You're gonna have an awesome workout. I am going to be very happy that I taught and very happy that I did not exercise, and it's just gonna be good for all of us. Sound good? Sound good. All right, so on your mats, on your backs, 1 foot crossed over the opposite knee, and as soon as you hear that horn go off, we will begin with hip rocks and bridges. Wow, yeah, I was thinking about trying to do that, and then I realized you do put a little bit of pressure with your arms against the floor when you're starting to engage that core to rock your hips up, and that was not going to feel pleasant. So we're doing hip rocks and bridges right now as the start of our warm-up. And as we know, it's a pretty easy exercise. This does require core engagement, which we don't necessarily think about a ton. So we're not just trying to push up from the floor to get the hips off, because that actually doesn't really get you very far. You actually do want to contract those abdominal muscles, and that was me not having the additional bracing of my arms against the floor, but that's gonna be what helps to get your hips, okay, my hips are off the ground. And then once we put the foot back down on the floor, the standing foot, make sure, all right, switch sides, but make sure that you come up onto the ball of the foot before you do the bridge, okay? So we're not just coming down to a flat foot and then trying to bridge up. You are bringing yourself up onto the ball of the foot, then bridge, and it just gives you some additional room. And you can try it both ways and you'll feel the difference. When your foot is flat on the floor, you just can't physiologically get your hips up as high. And obviously I talk all the time about how the warm-up is our boot-up sequence, so we're not trying to go for max height, but it still can feel a little constricting. So just try it both ways. Just once, you'll immediately feel the difference and you'll see why I say, okay, get yourself up onto the ball of the foot for this. All right, now we go into our leg sequence. I can at least lie on my side, on this side anyway, and we do Jane Fonda. So good old Jane, the original aerobics celebrity. I'm sure that's not true, but she's certainly the one that lives in my cultural consciousness the most. Remember, we want to be in a straight line and we want to be balanced up on our hip. So we are going to need that core engagement to prevent the hips from trying to roll forwards or backwards. And if you're struggling to feel whether you're in an actual straight line, use the long edge of your mat. Just set yourself up along that edge and be like, okay, I must be straight because I'm lying along this edge. And then just feel what that feels like. Start to memorize what that feels like, and that's going to make it easier going forward. Now we take that top foot, put it flat on the floor in front of that bottom knee. We're lifting the bottom leg. It's like my ankle is up against my knee. So my leg is sort of rubbing along the side of this foot as I lift it. All right, so that's totally fine and normal. You're not here trying to keep that foot farther ahead, all right? But remember, we are trying to make sure that our knee is pointing straight up towards the ceiling and isn't caving forward like this. So if you have a lot of hip flexibility, you may just be able to sort of set yourself here and not think about it. Otherwise, you may need to engage some of the muscles in the back of the hip joint to pull that knee backwards and keep it there. All right. Now for our beach pose. We love the beach pose because it is absolutely the easiest pose here. Got my foot flat on the floor back here. For this one, I have it a little farther back, so I'm not usually in contact with the leg as it lifts. But I think there's probably a physiological component to that as well, so I wouldn't worry too much if that's not the experience that you're having. But we've got the knee pointing straight up towards the ceiling, and it's very easy to maintain, so we don't need to worry about caving forward or back. We don't need to worry about the hips being able to rock forward or back. We can just focus on lifting that leg and feeling what muscles are engaged in that process. All right, so this is our nice sort of reward in the leg sequence before we flip around and we do it all again. Starting with Jane. I am not going to demonstrate on this side for obvious reasons. But everything we talked about on the first side still goes for the second side, my friends. So right now you're doing the Jane Fonda. You are lifting that leg, that top leg. And if it's feeling a little additionally fatigued and you're not sure why the first side didn't feel that way, it's because whatever your top leg is right now, this is the third set in a row that it's worked on, okay? Because it was the bottom leg for 2 sets in a row, and then you rolled over, and now it's the top leg. So it's always going to feel a little bit harder to do the Jane Fonda on the second side because that leg has already done 2 sets in a row. So if that's been something you're struggling with, maybe try to alternate which side you start on each time you take class, okay? But soon, it will have its just reward. Flat on the floor, that foot flat on the floor in front of that bottom leg, in front of that bottom knee, we're lifting the leg. So pay attention to the differences in your hip flexibility, okay? Does it feel easier or harder on this side to keep that knee pointing straight up to the ceiling? I can still demonstrate on this side, even though it's the same side for me. But if I was on my second side, I would definitely struggle a little more with the knee trying to cave forward. And here on the floor doing this warm-up exercise, this is about as low stakes of a situation as we can be in, which is good because it gives us the opportunity to practice engaging the hip to pull that knee back, making sure that knee is placed so it's going straight up towards the ceiling. So if I was going to do a squat, the knee would go straight forward over my feet. And we want to practice that here so that when we actually stand, we're doing it correctly. All right, now that foot is behind the bottom knee. We're in our beach pose for the second side. And again, just relax. I mean, you're still obviously working, but just relax, okay? You do not need to worry about a lot of the little form areas that the first two, the first two in the leg sequence are sort of deceptively simple. But they do have a lot of components that we have to pay attention to. Whereas the beach pose is really pretty chill. There's not, like, just pay attention to the muscle groups that you're using to lift the leg, and that will be good information for you. All right, and in a second the timer will go off and we will move out of our leg sequence and into opening up our hips and our backs. I am not going to attempt to demonstrate scorpion twists today, again, for obvious reasons. But remember, you have to keep those forearms planted on the ground, okay? As you twist one leg behind yourself and then the other one, those forearms do not lift. The elbows do not lift. So if you're there and you're like, oh man, I can go so far, all I have to do is let my elbow come off the floor, then you can't go that far yet. And that's okay. This exercise comes with a built-in metric to really clearly demonstrate where your flexibility is in your spine, in your lower to mid back. And it also comes with a very easy way to tell when you're increasing that flexibility. So don't get grumpy that you can't go as far as you want to. Just pay attention to how far you can go. All right, now we stand up. We're holding that, holding that imaginary PVC pipe above our heads. We're doing our big torso rotations. Remember to change directions every couple of rotations so that you're evening yourself out, because we're only doing this for one interval. So I don't want you to be, doing all of your circles in one direction and then be like, well, now I just feel completely off balance. So always make sure, I usually will do 2 rotations in one direction and then go back the other way. And that's just an easy way for me to keep track. So holding that pipe, and remembering that we're initiating the movement from the hips, not moving the arms and trying to follow them. Now still holding that PVC pipe above your head, and we're doing our squat. So now we get to put that knee positioning into actual practice. Make sure the knees are going straight over the feet the whole time, okay? So you don't want them caving in at any point in this exercise, either when you're going down or when you're trying to stand up. And if you feel them caving towards each other, trying to touch each other, then narrow your position, okay? Narrow your position, practice here. All right, cool, I can maintain that much more easily here. And do this for as many classes as it takes to strengthen up those muscles, and then widen the position again, test it out, and see whether it feels better, okay? This is a journey. We don't have to be perfect at everything right away, or even particularly quickly. All right, Samson stretches. Remember taking that nice long lunge behind us, lifting those arms up towards the ceiling, making sure that the hips are both pointing straight forward, not opening out into a warrior 2. We want, if you had headlights on your pelvic bones, they'd be pointing forward the whole time, and then stepping forward to your front foot and going back on the other side, letting those arms just lift up towards the ceiling, okay? And you'll be getting that nice stretch in the front of the hip flexor. So this is an active stretch. We're not trying to stay here and really settle in, but you want to sink into the stretch, feel the activation, feel the lengthening, then step forward, switch sides, same thing. So we're not trying to move super quickly from side to side, okay? And now, last of our hips and back sequence, we get down into this nice wide squat, hands on the knees, moving one shoulder at a time in towards the midline. Remember, the shoulders are the only things moving, so we're not bouncing up and down out of that squat position. We're not, again, we don't want the knees caving forward, and they can have a tendency to do that. As you bring one shoulder in, the knee on that side is like, let me come with you. So thankfully, In this position, we have our hands on our knees, and that helps to keep them levered out. So we don't have to worry about that as much, but just pay attention to it, okay? And we're just moving our shoulders, getting that nice twist in the upper spine. We've already done the lower to mid, so now we're getting activation in the upper spine before we head into our cardio, starting with our jumping jacks. Oh my God, it's so amazing how many things require lifting my arm over my head that I just don't really think about until moments like this. So we're doing jumping jacks. We don't talk about form with them a lot because if you've done a PE class in the United States in the last, like, I don't know, 40 to 100 years, you've probably done jumping jacks and understand the fundamentals perfectly well. It is not an exercise that requires a lot of finesse. Just do make sure you're engaging your core because you're moving a lot of your limbs around, but you do want to be staying centered in a specific spot on the floor. We're not trying to like, suddenly I'm over by the wall, how did I get there? But otherwise, bare minimum jumping jacks, because yes, we're still in the warm up. Now we move into kick throughs. And hopefully there are no new students here today because, yeah, kick throughs, well, I can demonstrate one side. We've got our hand flat on the mat, trying to get that shoulder directly over the wrist. Opposite leg is the standing leg. We want it at a 90-degree angle with the knee pointing up towards the ceiling. Then we kick the free leg across like that, and then come through the center, put down the arm, and switch to the other side. So if you are new to the kick through, take it slow, take it one piece at a time. Honestly, even if you've been doing kick throughs for years, you may still need to take it slower than you think that you do. I still have to take it relatively slowly in order to be able to do the exercise consistently. So it's a hard exercise, don't worry. And we finish out with burpees. Huzzah! Remember, it is a wave push-up, not a plank push-up. I know that many people are like, but I just jumped back into this beautiful plank. Why wouldn't I do a plank push-up? Because that's not the exercise we're doing, all right? So wave push-up, and then big victory clap up at the top as you do the jump. And this is how we finish out our warm-up. So this cardio section is the thing that finishes the activation of our cardiovascular system, obvious. So, you know, we've got our heart rate going a little bit faster. We've got our breath coming a little bit faster. Everything at this point has been booted up, has been notified that yes, we are working out. So let's get all those systems going, and we are gonna be ready to go. Woohoo! I recognize that I almost started cheering a little bit early. It's because I can see the countdown and you can't. Sorry, my friends. I do not do yoga now. That is not something I teach on this channel. Primarily HIIT classes and one weight training class per week. All right, my friends. So week 3 of April Powers, you know what comes next. It's going to be pyramid, and it's going to be those same 3 exercises that we've been doing the last few weeks. Grab some water first before I dive right into the pyramid exercises. It's the thing about teaching the same program for a month is I'm like, okay, cool, we can just dive right in. And then I'm like, no, we have rest timer going for a reason. We do not need to immediately jump into the next thing. So, but we are going to get it started in just a second. So pyramid, our 3 exercises, we've got the knee crunches. Remember, up from the balance position, knees pointing to one side, pull them into the chest using the obliques, then extend out to the other side and pull them up on the other side. Then we've got squat jumps. I'm not going to do the jump, but we take a foot position between hip and shoulder width apart. small squat down, and then jump. Yes, your feet do actually have to leave the mat. And then our side-to-side planks, where we start in that front plank position, up on the hands, shoulders directly over wrists. Then we let the heels drop to one side, open up, other arm to the ceiling, then back through that front plank and to the other side. Y'all know this, I know. So we're doing 21 reps, then 15 reps, then 10 reps, and you've got 7 minutes, okay? We're doing 7 minutes this time. Let's see how we do. So everybody on your mat, get ready, get set, and timer is going. So knee crunches first. Remember, the big thing with the knee crunch, we are working those obliques, all right? So you should be, that muscle engagement, that crunching is what pulls the knees in towards your chest. I'm not trying to just like lift my legs in, because if I do that, I can tell that my abdominals are not actually participating in the exercise, and we want them to do that. Remember too, for knee crunches, because we're going side one, side two, side one, side two, you do need to do an even number of them to make sure that you are evened out. So for knee crunches, it will be 22 reps, then 16 reps, and then 10 reps, okay? And that is a note for any of the exercises that we do that have a side one, side two cadence. Well, not all of them, but I'll let you know the exceptions. But yeah, 7 minutes, which seems short, but last week we had 7.5 and we did great. We've been like, I honestly did not think that there was that much room to decrease the overall amount of time that we gave for pyramids, but we've definitely been doing some stuff. I think next week we will actually attempt to get everything done in 6.5 minutes, which is wild. Holy crap. But you're doing great so far. You've not even hit the 2-minute mark, my friends. You are doing excellently. And those squat jumps, again, they are a pretty simple exercise. You just want to make sure we're not going super deep into the squat, okay? You just want enough of a squat so that you can generate the power for that jump, all right? So that's really the focus. And the other focus is making sure that each time you land, knees going straight over the feet. We're never landing like this, okay? If that happens, narrow the stance. All of those same notes apply. Basically, anytime that we're doing a squat position, that is somewhere between hip and shoulder width in width. So yeah, all those same notes apply, and then otherwise, we are only squatting down as far as we need to be able to propel ourselves up into the air. And then our side-to-side planks, that's another one where, because there's a side one and a side two, you need to make sure you're doing even numbers of reps. So 22, then 16, then 10. And remember, we don't need to rush on side-to-side planks. In fact, we don't want to, because this is an exercise where we are working on the strength and stability of our shoulders. And so we don't want to be going super quickly side to side, because our shoulders are our most unstable joint, and we want to make sure that they are nice and stable. So check in on your form as you're coming up onto one arm. Is the working arm, the arm that's attached to the floor. You still want to make sure that shoulder is directly over the wrist. So you've got that perpendicular line between the arm and the floor, okay? We love perpendicular angles here. And remembering too, if you're having wrist issues, there are modifications that you can do for this exercise. Any of the modifications that you would do for any other exercise that has you up on your palms and really flexing those wrists, is something that you can do for this. So you can do the exercise from your fists, and that's going to keep your wrists completely straight, or you can use dumbbells or push-up handles, and that's going to introduce a little bit of extension into your wrist, but not nearly as much, okay? And seriously, you know, sometimes we just hit a point where we're like, okay, I need to do the modification this week, not because I have, you know, a prior injury or any issue with that, but just to give my wrists a little bit of a break. The classes this month are really heavy on a lot of wrist activation. We do a lot of things from this position, and so there's going to be a lot more cumulative impact. And so if you need to modify for any of these, even if you don't have wrist issues, do it, okay? I've definitely been feeling impacts and activations in my hands and wrists, and it's because all of our classes this month have a lot of that positioning, and it takes a toll if we're not paying attention and we're not modifying every once in a while to take the pressure off, okay? All right, my friends, so we are at 5 minutes 40 seconds right now, so a minute and 20 seconds to go. So hopefully you are moving your way through. I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but of course, as always with the pyramids, it can be really hard to maintain the count in your head with me up here talking at you. So one of the beautiful things about doing an online stream is you know what you're doing for the pyramids, you know the number of reps. If you need to be able to better concentrate, you can always turn down the volume, and I will wave my arms when we are done with the timer so that you know to turn it back on. All right, my friends, we are almost to 30 seconds left. Yeah, 30 seconds left. So hopefully you're finishing up. If you still have some reps to do, that's okay. You just won't get as much of a rest timer, but don't worry if you need to go into that timer a little bit to finish up. That is A-okay. 15 seconds left. So hopefully you are on the downward slope, just 10 reps. It feels so nice after all the rest of those reps, let me tell you. All right, and you are done. Good job. 7 minutes. Not bad, my friends. Not bad at all. All right. Now we have our first perpetual motion set of the class, and this one is going to be 45 seconds, 45-second intervals, but it's a perpetual motion set, so we don't have any rest intervals. So whenever the horn goes off, you go immediately into the next exercise. There's only 2 of them, so we're just going back and forth. But the 2 exercises, one of which I can sort of demonstrate, the other one I assuredly cannot. First exercise, remember we've got our alternating one-legged squats. So we're taking a wide stance with our feet turned out. So that basically means our toes pointing away from each other and towards the opposite walls. Then we're going to bend one leg, come all the way down into that squat. We want the knee going straight over the foot. So if you need to turn the feet in a little bit, that's fine. Other leg is fully extended. Then push back up to standing and down to the other side. All right, and then the other exercise is our front plank from the elbows, which I'm not going to show right now, but shoulders directly over elbows. Again, perpendicular line between the upper arm and the floor, and we're just holding steady and remembering to breathe. Those are the important things. All right, so alternating one-legged squats and our, I lost where my app was, and our front planks. There we go. So everybody on your mats, as soon as you hear that horn, you begin with the squats, okay? There we go. So we're doing 45-second intervals as a reminder. And these squats are really intense. Anything that puts all of that pressure to lower and then raise again on just one knee is going to be really intense. And we have the added component of we're coming down here and getting this nice hamstring stretch over here, but it's an additional sort of sensory input. So definitely you can go slowly, and definitely pay attention to how much you've turned your feet out, because again, we want to make sure that those knees are staying straight over the feet, and so you may need to turn them in a little bit. All right, and now into that front plank. And I talked about it super briefly a minute ago, but remembering to breathe. Breathing does not become less important just because we are doing a held exercise. Held exercises are still exercises. That's why we do them in class. And so your muscles still need that oxygen coming in, helping to break down fuel stores into usable energy. That is still really critical. And if you're in that plank and you're feeling a lot of vibration, know that that's normal, but also know that that's a sign that your muscles are working really hard and they need that oxygen. All right, second time through, we're back to those alternating one-legged squats. And a quick reminder that when the timer is going, the timer is the leader. The timer is the teacher. So I will frequently get into a groove talking about something, and then the horn will go off and I'll be like, oh yeah, you should, move to the next exercise. But I'll say that like 5 seconds after the horn went off. Don't wait for me to tell you to move to the next exercise. The horn is our objective time master, okay? So when you hear that horn, you switch to the next exercise. So you're back in those planks. Yeah, the muscle vibration can be really disconcerting, and it's not a negative thing. It means that you're working really hard, and you want to try to deepen that breath and bring more oxygen in at a time, okay? Held exercises are always a great place to try and lower your heart rate, lower your rate of breathing. And lowering your rate of breathing is the thing that will most quickly lower your heart rate, because your heart goes, oh, they're breathing more slowly, so I don't need to freak out quite as much about moving oxygen through the body. All right, we are halfway through, my friends. Halfway through, always exciting. Oh my God, yep. It is really funny to realize how often I, gesticulate by trying to lift my arms in the air. And trying to remind myself to not do that. I'm really glad I wore the hoodie today. That was definitely an important cue for my brain to be like, no, something's different. You do have to actually pay attention to it. But remember, so we're halfway through, well over halfway through at this point. We're going back for our third round of front planks. So now is definitely an important time to check back in on our form. We want our form to be just as strong by the time we're doing our fourth run through these exercises as it was on the first run through them, okay? So you should always be checking, when you start the next exercise, you should always do that quick check. But it becomes more and more important as our muscles get more fatigued. And this is a perpetual motion set, so we don't have any of that rest time in there. We just have to go from exercise to exercise. So that adds additional layers of fatigue on. So when you switch back to those squats right now, I want you to really key in on your form. And you may have to make small adjustments and modifications here in this fourth set. Maybe you were able to maintain a wider foot position for the first few, but now your knee is really struggling to stay over the foot, so you need to turn your feet in a little bit. And that's okay, all right? Making those small modifications throughout the set is absolutely what we should be doing, because form, super important, And injury prevention, super important. And how do we prevent injury? By understanding when we need to make those modifications. All right, last plank, my friends. I know that held positions can be really intense, particularly when we're feeling a little bit more fatigued. So nice big breaths. I know that it can be hard to remind yourself that it's okay to allow the rib cage movement, even though we're doing a held position. You still want those big breaths, and that's going to help calm your muscles, give them more fuel. So big breaths, really sort of honing in on the position. 5 seconds left, you're so close. And yeah, good job, everybody. Nicely done, nicely done. All right. And remember to drink plenty of water, even if you're not doing class because you got the vaccine yesterday. Still remember to drink plenty of water. All right. So, pyramid number 2 is coming up. All right. So, pyramid number 2, same structure. 21, 15, 10. Same notes. You can take whatever rests you need to between exercises or even mid-set if you're really struggling to maintain form. But you have overall 7 minutes to complete all of the sets. And we've got 3 exercises. So, first exercise is our flaming scarlets, which obviously we hold our arms above us in a V shape. I can't maintain that right now, but I'll bring one arm up as a marker, and then we're just jumping from foot to foot. Ooh, I shouldn't do that either. Trying to get that knee up above the crease in the hips. And remember that for this one, you can do just 21, 15, 10, because 1 rep is going to be knee up, knee up. So 1, 2, 3, okay? Rather than 1, 2, 3, 4. So, you know, you have to go for a little bit longer, but you can go for the usual number of reps. Then we have push-ups. You can do wall push-ups, incline push-ups off a piece of furniture. You can do a standard plank push-up from the knees, half plank, half wave, full wave. The 2 non-negotiables are making sure that your shoulders are directly over your wrists. Again, love that perpendicular line. And that you are keeping your elbows glued into your sides all the way down and all the way up. That's my preferred style for push-ups, really putting the effort on the tricep. So keep that in mind. And then the 3rd exercise, TikToks. Y'all know our good friend TikToks. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, you'll need to do 22, 16, 10. All right, so everybody on your mat, everybody knows the exercises. Flaming scarlets, push-ups, and TikToks. 7 minutes starts now. And if you need to turn down the volume so that you can concentrate on counting, that's fine. But yeah, flaming scarlets is honestly a really nice one to do in pyramids because it moves so quickly that you get through it like that, and you're like, oh, cool, I'm done. It's interesting. I like the pyramids because they really key your brain into exercises with more components and how that impacts the amount of time that a single rep of an exercise can take. Because there are plenty of exercises that I've never really thought about how long they take until I've done them in a pyramid set. And then I'm like, oh, this actually does have a ton of components to it. And that slows down how that impacts how quickly I am able to get through 21 reps of this exercise. Whereas something like Flaming Scarlets, like you were probably done before I even started that particular conversation. So, always something interesting to dig into, and keeping in mind too that even if an exercise is relatively simple in terms of construction, it can still take a long time if it's an exercise that's harder for you, or that you haven't built up the strength in that muscle group or in that joint group. So push-ups are one of those for me, where it's obviously a very straightforward exercise, but it definitely, doing push-ups in the pyramids definitely slows me down in terms of overall completion of my sets. And that's just because they're an intense exercise for me, and they still are, even after, a lifetime of being active and 2 years of teaching and 1 year of really intensively teaching and doing class at the same time here on Twitch. They're still really intense. So, things to pay attention to. The things that feel more intense, pay attention to them and see if you can figure out what areas you might be able to strengthen to change your relationship with that exercise. So strengthening and stabilizing my shoulders revolutionized my ability to do push-ups. Absolutely. Now, instead of it being a stamina game with my shoulders, which it definitely was previously, now it's just building up the overall strength in my arms. So it's still a challenge, but it is a different challenge. And that's a cool thing for us to recognize and work through over time as we take this fitness journey. And then TikToks, I mean, that's a classic. I've been doing TikTok since day one here on the channel. And we have a lot of additional core exercises at this point, which I'm very happy about because y'all know how much I love core exercises. But it's fun to revisit the classics every once in a while. All right, we are at 3.5 minutes right now. So that means that we're halfway through. Yeah, that means that we're halfway through. So 3.5 minutes to go to get us to 7 minutes. So hopefully you are on your second round. So doing 15 reps or 16 in the case of the TikToks. And again, you can take whatever rests you need to between the exercises. And if you are doing your set and you're like, I really need to take a rest, I don't think I can maintain the form, you can take those rests mid-set. It is absolutely, it's something I do sometimes too. It's just, it is a tool you should deploy with caution, because stopping in the middle of a set and then going back to try and finish it, our brain is like, oh, cool, we're done with what we need to do. And then you go back and you're like, actually, no, we still have to do more. And your brain is like, but I thought we finished this. And your muscles are like, yeah, so did I. I'm feeling really tired right now. And so you may actually end up having to take a number of breaks to get to the end of the set. So it's just something to keep in mind. It's definitely a tool you should feel completely comfortable in deploying, particularly if you feel like you're about to lose the form, okay? Y'all know the form is our foundation. So don't try to muscle through just because you're worried about how hard it's going to feel when you start back up. That is not the lesson. That is never our lesson here. All right, my friends. So we're at almost 5.5 minutes, which means 1.5 minutes left. I'm going to come and sit down and drink some water while y'all are finishing up. Hopefully you are getting towards the 10 reps sets, and hopefully you're feeling really awesome. I honestly did not think that there was as much time to shave off of the overall pyramid sets as there is. So I've been very pleased with that. And don't worry, we're not going to permanently be doing sets at 6 minutes going forward. I will try to have sort of a range of different amounts of time for pyramids, because everybody is different, and not everybody at home is at the place yet where they can get everything done in 7 minutes, and that's fine. That's totally fine. So I will try to continue having a range, but I like to play around with it in our month-long programming, just because it gives us an opportunity to really be like, all right, what can I do? Do I have this ability? All right, my friends, 30 seconds left to finish off pyramid number 2. And then we'll have our next perpetual motion set, which will be very exciting. Dun, dun, dun. And then I'll have to figure out how to lead stretching. Oh my goodness. It's a strange class for me today, y'all. You know how weird this feels. All right, 5 seconds left. So hopefully you are finishing up or already finished and done. All right, here just the awkward arm waving to let people know if you turned the volume down that you can turn it back up again. Oh, yeah, this is a weird class for me. Like, I feel like usually I have exercise to distract me from the fact that I'm talking the whole time. I don't have that right now. But I am very glad that I felt well enough to run class today, because we're in the middle of programming, and I hate to have things sort of get in the way of programming while we're sort of in the thick of it. But ultimately, I only had to move one class, which was moving Friday's class to Thursday. So that's awesome. That's really cool. All right, so our next perpetual motion set, I think we're gonna do 1 minute intervals. Yes, it's true. 1 minute intervals, my friends. And we've got 2 exercises, and I know you remember them, because one of them is wall sits. Actually, I usually show that from over here. So wall sits. Making sure we've got our 90-degree angles, torso to thighs, thighs to shins. Oh yeah. And we just hold that for a minute. Oh man. And then the other exercise is our shrimps, moving ourselves back and forward along the mat in this rocking motion, making sure the core is engaged. I really can't demonstrate that, but y'all know. Move first shoulders, then hips, then shoulders, then hips, down to the end of your mat, and then back in the opposite direction. All right, so 1 minute intervals, and it's perpetual motion, so it's gonna be intense, but you can do it absolutely. So everybody on your mats, get ready. As soon as you hear that horn, you start the wall sit. So actually, not on your mats, everybody find an appropriate wall. Yay, there we go. All right, so we've got another held position. What do? We're breathing. Oh man, and finding the points where you're able to apply pressure, through your feet into the floor to help connect your lower back to the wall. And that can help to maintain the position, but it is going to add some additional intensity to the quad engagement, so just keep that in mind. This is one of those exercises that feels like it should be really simple and is just really intense, and that's okay. That is totally okay. We just need to keep that in mind, alrighty? All right, 1 minute is almost up. Almost up, I promise. And then you will get to do shrimps. Yeah, shrimps. Wow, I found the tone. Obviously, I found the tone. I've been doing this for how long now? But yeah, so now we are doing our shrimps, making sure, so the core has to be engaged and contracted because we need to maintain the rounding in the lower back, because that's what's allowing us to sort of rock back and forth. And every time the shoulders come off the ground, we move them to the side. And that uses our obliques. That's what generates the ability to move to the side. And then the same thing when the hips come off the ground. So there's a lot of isolation required in this exercise that depends on the oblique engagement, all right? And honestly, if you have dance training, this is probably super easy for you because you've probably been trained in the ability to isolate the movement of different parts of your body. If you haven't, shrimps may take longer to figure out. So while you're in your wall sit, you can consider what the next steps will be for shrimps. But if you are struggling with shrimps, if you are having a difficult time managing the movement back and forth, if you end up sort of turning yourself in circles, then you always can modify it to a boat rock and just spend that time visualizing what the movement will look like. Visualization is a powerful tool. A big portion of the immediate improvements we see when we start a new fitness program is just our brain laying down the neural pathways to more easily remind us how to do different exercises. And so visualization, as we head back into the shrimps, is a super useful tool because it allows us to use our imagination and be like, okay, this is what it should look like, this is what it should feel like, and then we can go back in and try it out. And because our brain has a memory of doing it, even if it hasn't physically done it yet, it makes it a little easier for our brain to figure out, okay, this is how I do this, all right? So never be afraid to use that skill. Oh, yeah, no, thanks, Automod. I love that. Okay, you are getting immediately banned. Bye-bye. Get on out of here. Hey, now seems as good a time as any to remind people that I have a zero tolerance policy for strangers showing up in my chat and being creepily sexualizing of me. All right? That is not what this class is about. This is a fitness fucking class. I am a small streamer and I don't have time to give a shit. All right? So if you come in and you're being creepy and awful like that person was, you are getting immediately banned. All right? I've got auto mods, I've got other mods, and I've got me. And literally none of us will hesitate to bring the ban hammer down. Okay? So we respect our teacher, we respect each other. And if you don't, I don't have the time to waste. So bye-bye. Okay. I think we're halfway through. Are we halfway through? Yeah. Oh, we're well more than halfway through. So we're back on those shrimps. So if you spent one set doing the boat rock visualization trick, test it out again. Test the shrimps out again. Remember too that just physiologically, we can't move our shoulders to the side as far as we can move our hips. So you always need to reduce the amount of distance you cover with the hips to better match what your shoulders can cover. Because if you're not, your hips are going as far as they can go, your shoulders can never keep up, and that's how we end up turning ourselves in awkward circles, okay? So if that's something you've been struggling with, then that's what you want to pay attention to in this particular round. Alrighty? Okay, we are about to head into our last set. So this is your last wall sit. Oh my gosh. Oh man, yeah. I definitely get the vibrating muscles on longer wall sits. So if that's something that you're feeling right now, don't worry, you are not alone. Not alone at all. But breathing nice big breaths, getting that oxygen in, that's going to help your muscles, that's going to calm them down, it's going to calm your heart rate down, sort of remove some of the fight or flight responses that you may feel as the intensity of the sensation ramps up, okay? And you can just try and be really focused, really present, and maybe you're not feeling that vibration in your muscles today, and you can go, ooh, I think I'm strengthening a little bit. And that's always exciting. All right, in just 1 second, there we go, back into our shrimps for our final set before we do our final pyramid. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did not lift this arm. Good job, me, for remembering. Hey, okay. Yeah, so you've had 3 previous sets and, 2 previous weeks to really dig into shrimps. So I'm really hoping that you've been able to make some breakthroughs. If this has been a difficult exercise, make some breakthroughs in just feeling comfortable doing the exercise. And if this is an exercise where you understand the fundamental mechanics of it, then really focus in on that core engagement. All of the movement in shrimps is generated from force from the abdominals, okay? And all of our ability to maintain the position comes from them too. So they're doing double duty. They're holding a position and they're generating movement. All right. Good job, everybody. Woo! Let's grab some water. Man, always making sure to hydrate during this class. Look, I may not be doing it today, but I know how intense this class is. Hydration is always important, which is why I talk about it all the damn time, but it's particularly important on a class like today's. All right, we've got one more pyramid. 7 minutes. 7 minutes to the end of class, and then I'll figure out how to what stretches we'll be doing. I probably won't be going as intensely into them because I haven't worked out, so static stretching is not necessarily the thing that I want to do right now, but want to make sure that y'all get some good post-class cool down in. All right, our last 3 pyramid exercises. Oh my God, yeah, like tailor-made for me to not be able to do it, so I won't really be able to demonstrate this one, but that's okay. This is week 3. Y'all know what you're about. So, the 3 exercises: toe squats, chair triceps, and ankle reaches. So, toe squats are classic, feet hip width apart, trying to keep our back straight up and down. We start to squat, we get to about here, and we go, well, I can't go any farther with my heels on the floor. And we let the heels come off. Both arms raise up, I just can't do that right now. And then back to standing, all right? And then for our triceps, remember the hands are on the edge of the chair, fingers pointing out away from the chair, and bringing the hips out like this. And then we just, I can't do it with from the actual position, but we bend the arms, bring ourselves down. We're not going all the way down to the floor, like you don't want your butt to hit the floor or anything like that. And then pushing back up so the arms are straight. And then that was an exercise that was tailor-made for me to not be able to demonstrate it today. Thank God this is week 3. And then our ankle reaches, you all know those at this point. Legs straight up in the air. Engage that core to lift the shoulders and chest off the floor, reaching one arm to the outside of the opposite ankle and going back and forth and back and forth. So this is our last pyramid, my friends. 7 minutes is all we have to do. So get on your mat. The 7 minutes starts now. There we go. And toe squats, I mean, there are so many form notes I can give on toe squats, but also we do them pretty consistently. They are a great exercise for leg strengthening. Let me tell you, I definitely have felt the improvement and sort of the cross-training improvement too. You know, I credit toe squats with helping me to improve my hiking, you know, just improving my leg strength and stamina for hiking. Which in Colorado is a really intense proposition, hiking is, because we're so far above the sea. We are way up above the sea. I'm just going to move this chair because it's not like I'm going to be doing those triceps today. So let's just get this off the mat. But yeah, we love toe squats. But I talk about the form of them all the time, but making sure that your core is fully engaged, helping to maintain, to control the torso and all of the limbs. So once you get down to the bottom of the position, which is basically a balance, which your ankle and your foot are trying to manage, they don't have to worry about your torso trying to wobble all over the place, right? They can feel confident that the core is helping to control that weight and that movement so that nothing is going to go in a direction that they don't expect, okay? And that's how we improve our balance skills, and that's how we assist our feet and ankles in balance positions, is by making sure we understand what stabilizing muscle groups we need to engage to control the rest of the movable parts of the body. All right, and then those chair triceps, they're, I like them a lot. They're still really intense, but they may feel less intense than the push-ups did. You do still need to make sure that you're keeping those elbows in. Same thing with our regular push-ups. We don't want the elbows fanning out from the sides. So that's something to really pay attention to, okay? And yeah, they are an exercise that you will probably be able to get through all of the reps pretty quickly. Again, it's a relatively simple exercise in terms of the number of components that go into the movement. Simple does not mean easy. Simple just means that all I have to do is bend my elbows and then straighten my elbows. Like, at the most reductive explanation of that exercise, that's what it is. As opposed to something like shrimps, where it's like, well, to do this exercise, first you have to curve your core so that your lower back is curved. And then you have to start yourself sort of rocking back and forth. And then when your shoulders are off the ground, you need to engage the obliques so that you can move your shoulders to the side. Like, that's the difference. So simple is not easy. Easy is, oh yeah, I can bang out 20 reps of this, no sweat, I don't have to worry. Simple is just, well, I understand exactly how to do this exercise, and that is not complicated. Whether or not it's easy is a totally different question. So as an example, like ankle reaches. Ankle reaches are a pretty simple exercise as well, but depending on your hamstring flexibility, they may not be easy, particularly trying to keep your legs straight up and pointing up towards the ceiling. And remember, you can always add a bend to your knees if you need to. That's absolutely an option. Just try and make sure that the knees are pulling towards your chest. So this is the position we want the legs to be in. If you need to add a bend to the knee, pull the knees towards the chest so the feet are still pointing straight up into the air rather than bending the feet farther away from you, because the bulk of the exercise is trying to reach for those ankles. So we want the feet to be in about the same position, okay? But yeah, don't ever be afraid to add that bend in. I used to be more hardline about ankle reaches, and that was an artifact from my mentor, I think. But being hardline on like, no, you have to have your legs straight, is not really in keeping with my focus on the importance of accessibility. So yeah, you make that modification if you need to. Always check back and see if you can, keep your legs straight for part of the time or all of the time. Like, check back and see how you've developed, but don't shy away from making modifications when you need them. Oh my goodness, we're already at 5.5 minutes, so hopefully everybody is at or around or about to start their 10 rep sets. This is the end of this pyramid, which is also going to be the end of this class. Oh my goodness, week 3 of April Powers is about to be done, and y'all are doing so well. I am so freaking proud of you. I am so glad that I was able to teach today. despite everything else. So I'm gonna come and chill in front of the laptop until that timer is done, and then we'll do some stretches just to cool down. And then we will be done with class for today and be able to head off into the wild blue yonder for whatever else we're doing. I'm playing D&D. That's gonna be most of my day. Which is always good. A wonderful way to spend a day. And it's supposed to be, like, it's cloudy out, which is interesting, but it's supposed to get up to like 64 today. So it should be quite pleasant to be sitting outside. Looking forward to that. All right, my friends, 20 seconds left to finish everything up. And again, if you have to go a little bit past that timer, that's fine. You're not even eating into your rest time. You're just eating into your stretching time. But you'll obviously hear the stretches. All right, everybody, 7 minutes are up. 7 minutes are up. Hey. Yeah, good job, everybody. Awesome. Week 3 in the books. Holy crap. All right. Let's do a little bit of stretching. I apologize. This is probably not going to be as involved of a stretching sequence as I usually do, just because not working out myself, static stretching is not necessarily the thing that I want to really dig into a lot. But let's do our favorite quad stretch, because that is an important one after a day like this. So for the working leg, we fold it, that heel's out on the side of our hip. We pull it in as close to the hip as possible. And the other leg, the knee just sort of falls open against the ground. And we just lower ourselves backwards only as far as we need to get a really intense stretch along the quad. So that may be here, that may be down on your elbows, or you may be able to get your entire torso down on the ground. This is weird trying to demonstrate this, but move slowly because we want to allow the muscle to lengthen. We don't want to activate it and convince it that it needs to contract. When you hit the point where you're like, all right, yeah, this feels intense, stop there. Don't feel the need to keep trying to go deeper into the stretch. And now we're going to take 4 deep breaths, and each time you inhale, visualize the oxygen going to that quad, to wherever you're feeling the most intensity of sensation. And each time you exhale, just try and settle a little more deeply into the stretch. So here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. And now we awkwardly clamber back up to our seated position. We're not going to unfold this leg under its own power. We're going to take one hand to the knee, one hand to the ankle, and we will manually unfold it in front of us. Bring the other leg to meet it. Shake those knees out. Then flex the feet and point and flex and point and circle the ankles in one direction and then the other direction. All right, and now side 2. Same notes, getting into the position, folding the working leg, heel on the outside of the hip, slowly moving backwards, letting your torso go backwards only as far as you need to feel that really intense stretch. And that's another reason why we want to move slowly into the stretch, because the more intense the sensation gets, the more likely our brain is going to be like, we need to change something, and is going to tell the muscle fibers to try and contract, okay? So everybody should be in their preferred stretching position, and And so now we're going to take those 4 deep breaths. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. And back up to seated. 1 hand to the knee, 1 hand to the ankle. Unfold the leg in front of you. Bring the other leg to meet it. Shake out those knees. Flex the feet. And point. And flex. And point. Circle the ankles in one direction. And then the other direction. All right, let's just do one more today. Let's do our butterfly stretch. So soles of the feet together, letting the knees fall open as far as they can. This is where you really see the disparity in my hip flexibility. And we're going to fold over. Our goal is to get our lower back as close to the top of the thighs as we can to really intensify the stretch in the hips. So rather than just trying to dive over, take a flat back position and then maintaining it as best as you can, and you're not going to perfectly maintain it, but as best as you can, maintain it and walk your hands forward one at a time and just try and get that lower back as close down as you can. And then once you can't go any farther forward, then you can let the upper back curve over and gravity can help out a little bit. Shake out your head just to make sure you're not clenching your neck muscles, okay? And we're gonna take our 4 deep breaths here. Here we go. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. And 4. And up. And I think we are done for the day, my friends. Awesome. Well done. Obviously, you can always keep stretching. I don't do a consistent amount of time for stretching after class. I'm going to change that at some point. But if you need more stretching, please continue to do so. You know, that is not me saying that's all you need. That's, you know, hopefully just jump starting you into the cool down process so that you can figure out what other stretching you might need to do right now. But good job. All right, week 3 in the books. Holy crap. That is amazing. We have done such good work over the course of this month, and we are almost to week 4, which is going to be our most intense week. I'm looking forward to it. I'm also looking forward to actually being able to, you know, do the exercises. That'll be nice. But yeah, I hope that you had a great class. I am really, really proud of you for all the things that you've accomplished so far in 3 weeks of April Powers. It's going to be amazing next week. And then the week after that, we get to go back to the first week structure and see how much we've improved, which is so fun. So fun. I'm super looking forward to that part. Oh my goodness. And I'm just really, really pleased with how April Powers has unfolded. I think this has been a good month, and I'm really glad that you've been coming on this journey with me. And that, I think, my friends, is going to be that. So this is the end of our broadcast week. We will be back next week for the usual schedule for week 4 of April Powers. So Tuesday at 5:45 p.m. Mountain Time is Perpetual Motion, the class where we never stop moving. Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. is Jump Around, our weekly cardio class. Friday, yes, it's back to Friday, at 6 p.m. is going to be Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around your house. And then that will bring us back to Saturday morning at 9 a.m. for the weekend kickoff. So definitely join in for any or all of those classes. It's going to be our most intense week yet for this programming, and I am super excited to get started. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All those handles will be in my end cards, but they are all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel is where I upload all the VODs from these streams, so you never have to miss a class, even if you can't make the live cast. Those should be going up tomorrow, so definitely head over there and subscribe. If you want to help support me financially in making these streams, I have a Coffee account for one-time donations, or you can subscribe to this channel if you feel that you were able to support on a longer term basis. And either way, your donations are always very much appreciated. And if you want to help me keep growing this channel and this community, then please tell your friends, loved ones, coworkers, anyone looking for an awesome class. I stream 4 days a week. We have a really great community here, all things considered, and we have a lot of fun. So definitely hope that you keep hanging out and working out with us. So now, finish your water, refill, make sure that you're hydrating, make sure that you start replenishing those glycogen stores with some food, take that triumphant post-workout shower, and I will see all of you back here again on Tuesday. Mwah! Have a great day.